Have you ever felt that today feels different, like something unseen is shifting in your favor? What if February 3rd is not random, but a turning point where God's plan finally locks into place for you? Listen closely, because in the next few minutes, you may recognize yourself in a way that feels almost impossible to ignore. This is not a motivational talk. This is not coincidence. This is about selection. Before we go any further, subscribe now, like this video, and comment "I receive" if this message resonates with you. Because what I'm about to share builds, and what comes near the end will explain why they couldn't choose you before, but cannot resist choosing you now. Here's the truth most people are not ready to hear. God does not rush alignment. God waits for readiness. February 3rd represents a spiritual checkpoint, not because the calendar has power, but because you do. There is a moment when resistance collapses, a moment when the struggle stops pushing back, a moment when the door opens without force. This is that moment. You may have felt ignored, overlooked, passed over, like you were always the second option, or the one people came to only when nothing else worked. But what if the delay was protection? What if the silence was preparation? What if being unseen was the exact reason you are now chosen? The Bible says, "For the Lord will not cast off forever." Just one line, but everything changes when you understand it. God never forgot you. God never skipped you. God never replaced you. What happened is this: you were being built in private. February 3rd activates a decision not just in heaven, but in the hearts of people who once hesitated. They finally choose you, because now they can see what they were blind to before. Think about it. Why do people reject what they don't understand? Resist what challenges their comfort? Why do they delay what exposes their fear? It was never that you weren't enough. It was that your depth made them uncomfortable. You carry something that changes environments. Your presence forces honesty. Your energy reveals truth. And most people are not ready for that. So God waited, not to punish you, but to prepare them. Now here's the part few creators will say out loud. Not everyone who delayed you was evil. Some were simply unready. They were operating from fear, from ego, from insecurity. And when you stood in front of them, you mirrored everything they avoided within themselves. That's why they hesitated. That's why they circled back. That's why they kept you close, but never committed. Until now. February 3rd is about convergence, the moment when your growth meets their awakening. You didn't chase, you didn't beg, you didn't shrink. Yourself to be chosen. You stayed aligned, and alignment is louder than effort. God does not force doors, God removes resistance. What you are experiencing now is not luck, it's inevitability. The version of you that stands today cannot be ignored because you've passed the internal tests. You stopped proving, you stopped performing, you stopped trying to be understood. You chose peace over validation. That choice changed everything. Now listen carefully, because this is where the shift becomes personal. Someone has been watching you quietly, noticing how you move differently now, how you don't react the same, how your silence speaks louder than your words. They see your discipline, they feel your boundaries, they sense your calm, and it unsettles them, in a good way. Because confidence without arrogance is rare, strength without aggression is rare, faith without desperation is rare. Rare. And rare things are chosen last, not first, because only the prepared can handle them. February 3rd is the moment their fear meets your stability. And fear cannot survive in the presence of grounded faith. So they choose you, not because you asked, but because they finally understand. But here's the deeper layer. This isn't just about someone choosing you. This is about you choosing yourself first. That's what activated God's plan. When you stopped tolerating confusion, when you stopped accepting half-love, when you stopped dimming your intuition, heaven responded. God does not reward suffering. God rewards alignment. And alignment looks quiet from the outside, but it moves mountains behind the scenes. Some of you are feeling emotional for no clear reason today. Others feel calm but alert. Some feel tired yet hopeful. That's because old cycles are closing. You are stepping out of survival mode and into selection mode. Selection is different. Selection means intention. Selection means purpose. You are not being picked because you fit. You are being chosen because you lead. Now let me tell you something that may surprise you. When God's plan activates, it doesn't always come with fireworks. Sometimes it comes with clarity. Sometimes it comes with a text, a call, an apology, an invitation, a sudden shift in behavior. And sometimes it comes with silence, but a peaceful silence, the kind that tells you you don't need to chase this anymore. Pay attention to who shows up differently after today. Pay attention to who suddenly respects your time, your boundaries, your value. That is not coincidence. That is alignment catching up. They didn't choose you before because they were choosing comfort. Now they choose you because comfort no longer works. Your energy disrupts their old patterns and invites them into something real. This is also why some people will fade away after today. Not everyone can follow you into this next version, and that's okay. God removes distractions before He delivers alignment. You are not losing people. You are losing misalignment. Now stay with me, because here is the mini cliffhanger I promised earlier. There is a reason February 3rd matters specifically for you. It's not the date, it's the decision. A decision you made internally without even realizing it. You chose truth over attachment. You chose growth over familiarity. You chose faith over fear. And once that choice was made, the universe had no option but to respond. God's plan does not activate when you want something. It activates when you are ready to sustain it. That's why this feels different, desperate. That's why this feels calm. You're not asking anymore. You're allowing. And allowance is the language of faith. Now let me speak directly to the part of you that still doubts, the part that wonders, what if I'm wrong? Doubt is not disbelief. Doubt is transition. It shows up right before elevation. If you were not meant for this message would not land the way it is landing right now. Your spirit recognizes timing before your mind does. You don't need to convince anyone anymore. You don't need to explain your worth. Those who are meant to choose you will feel it. They will feel drawn, pulled, compelled, not because you manipulated, but because you aligned. This is the difference between chasing and being chosen. Chasing drains. Being chosen confirms. And confirmation is what February 3rd carries. Now here is your final reminder, and listen to this. Slowly. God's plan never arrives early, never arrives late. It arrives when you can handle it. You can handle it now. That's why they choose you. That's why doors open without force. That's why resistance dissolves. You are no longer asking for permission. You are walking in authority. So if this message speaks to you, if you feel this in your chest, not just your mind, like the video, subscribe, and comment, I am chosen, because declaring alignment seals it. And remember this, what is meant for you will recognize you, and after today, it won't hesitate anymore. And now, stay with me, because this next part is where everything There is a verse that fits this moment perfectly. The stone the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. Read that slowly in your spirit. You were rejected not because you were wrong, but because you were essential. They couldn't build with you back then, because you would have changed the entire structure. Now the structure is collapsing, and suddenly they need what they once ignored. If this feels personal, comment, I was the cornerstone. This is why people return with new energy, new respect, new tone. They speak to you differently now. They listen now. They pause before responding now, because your absence taught them what your presence meant. You were never hard to love. You were just ahead of the emotional timeline. And God does not waste ahead of time people. He positions them. February 3rd marks a spiritual reversal. What chased you no longer matters, longer defines you. You are no longer trying to be chosen. You are deciding who gets access. That's power. If you feel that shift, comment, I choose wisely. Let me be clear about something. Not everyone who chooses you now deserves the old version of you. They get the evolved version, the one with boundaries, the one with discernment, the one who listens before trusting. This is why God allowed the delay. so you wouldn't give sacred access to unprepared hands. You are not late. You are protected. And here's something important. Some of you are about to be chosen publicly, others privately, some through recognition, others through release. Do not compare your manifestation. Alignment looks different for everyone, but it always feels peaceful. If peace is replacing anxiety in you right now, comment, "I feel the peace." This peace is confirmation. This calm is evidence. Longer asking, "Will it happen?" You're asking, "Am I ready?" And that question alone means you are. God only reveals the plan when obsession is gone. You passed that test. Now listen closely to this final activation. You don't need to wait for permission after today. You don't need signs stacked on signs. Your intuition has been sharpened. Your spirit is clear. Trust the pull. Trust the pause. Trust the sudden clarity. If you've been feeling guided to slow down, that's God saying, "Watch how it unfolds." If you've been feeling guided to speak up, that's God saying, "You are safe now." And if you've been feeling guided to let go, that's God saying, "I have something better." Comment the one that fits you. Watch, speak, or let go. This is not random engagement. This is participation. When you speak alignment, you embody it. And finally, remember this about validation. It's about responsibility. You are chosen because you can steward what's coming, emotionally, spiritually, mentally. Others wanted the blessing. You were built to carry it. That is why February 3rd responds to you. Not to effort, not to noise, but to readiness. If you stayed until this moment, you already know this message was for you. Comment, "I am ready," and move forward without looking back. God's plan is active, and this time, it chooses you fully. And let this next part settle into you slowly, because once you see this, you cannot unsee it. There was a season where you felt invisible, not ignored, invisible. Like no matter how much you gave, how deeply you cared, how honestly you showed up, it never landed. That season was not rejection, it was refinement. God was teaching you how to stand without applause. Here is the verse meant for this moment: "When the time was right, I, the Lord, will make it happen." That line alone explains everything you've been through. You were early, they were late, and God refused to rush either of you. But now, the timing has caught up. That's why conversations feel different. That's why opportunities feel closer. That's why your name keeps resurfacing. If you've noticed people suddenly remembering you, comment, "They see me now," because seeing is the first step to choosing. But here's what most people don't realize. Being chosen is not always comfortable. It exposes old wounds. It forces decisions. It requires courage. And that's why not everyone reaches this point. You did. You stayed when it was lonely. You learned when it was confusing. You healed when it was painful. And now, life responds differently to you. Notice how you no longer chase clarity. Clarity comes to you. You no longer fear loss because you trust replacement. That is spiritual maturity. If that resonates, comment, "I've matured." Now listen carefully, because this part is subtle but powerful. Some of the people choosing you now are not choosing you out of love. They are choosing you out of recognition. They finally recognize your value. And recognition is still alignment, but it requires discernment. That's why God sharpened your intuition first. You will feel who is genuine. You will sense who has changed. You will know who is just afraid to lose access. Trust that knowing. If you're committed to trusting your discernment, comment, "I trust my knowing." February 3rd is not just about doors opening. It's about you walking through the right ones. Not every open door is assignment. Some are tests, and you are wise enough now to tell the difference. That wisdom didn't come free. You patience. It cost you tears. It cost you nights of questioning yourself. But look at you now. You no longer question your worth. You question alignment. That shift is everything. If you no longer settle for confusion, comment, "No more confusion." And here's the quiet miracle happening behind the scenes. Your peace is intimidating to people who live in chaos. They feel it. They sense it. They don't understand it. And instead of fighting it now, They are drawn to it. That's why they choose you. Not because you are loud, but because you are anchored. Anchored people change rooms just by entering. You are becoming that presence. If you felt your presence carry more weight lately, comment, "I carry peace." Now let me speak to the future you is walking into. You will be tested again, but not the same way. This time the test will be comfort, ease, attention. You with this test, because you already passed the hard ones. Remember this, you are not chosen to escape responsibility. You are chosen to elevate standards. People will rise around you or fall away. Both are signs of alignment. If you're ready to let people rise or fall without guilt, comment, "I release control." Finally, let this be your anchor thought. You were never forgotten. You were never late. You were never overlooked by heaven. You were being timed. And now, the time has arrived. Walk forward calmly. Speak clearly. Choose wisely. Because from this moment on, what you allow will shape what stays. Comment, "I allow alignment." And move forward knowing this. God's plan is not approaching. It is active. And this time, you are not waiting to be chosen. You are already walking in it. And now, let me take you even deeper, because this layer is where identity locks. There was a moment recently where you realized, "I don't want what I used to want anymore." That wasn't confusion. That was elevation. God was upgrading your desire system. Here is the verse that explains it clearly. Delight yourself in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart. Notice it doesn't say He gives you what you asked for. It says He reshapes what you desire. That's why what's coming now feels cleaner, healthier, more aligned. If you felt your desires change lately, comment, "My desires are aligned," because that shift is proof you're ready. You are no longer attracted to chaos disguised as passion. You are no longer impressed by loud promises. You are no longer moved by surface-level attention. You want truth, consistency, depth. And depth is expensive. Only prepared people can afford it. That's why they choose you now. You don't react emotionally anymore. You respond intentionally. That scares some people and attracts the right ones. Feel calmer but stronger than ever. Comment, "Calm and strong." Now hear this carefully. Some of you will be chosen by people, others will be chosen by opportunities, others by clarity, others by peace. Do not underestimate quiet blessings. The biggest confirmations don't shout, they settle. You don't feel anxious anymore, you feel steady. That steadiness is rare, and rarity is always chosen carefully. If you feel grounded instead of rushed, comment, "I am grounded." And let me say something bold. You don't need closure from the past, because your peace is the closure. You don't need apologies to move forward, because growth outran the pain. That's why old situations no longer trigger you, they educate you. If the past no longer controls you, comment, "The past is done." Now this is important. God didn't just prepare you to be chosen, He prepared you to say no. Power. You will notice offers that look good, but feel wrong. And for the first time, you will trust that feeling without guilt. That's discernment activated. If you're committed to honoring your intuition, comment, "I honor discernment." February 3rd is not about rushing forward, it's about moving correctly. Slow is smooth, smooth is powerful. You're no longer late, you're intentional, and intention always arrives on time. Let this be the sentence you remember. You didn't miss your moment matured. If that hits your spirit, comment, "My moment matured." Finally, let me leave you with this truth. Being chosen doesn't mean life gets easy. It means life gets honest. And honesty creates peace. You are walking into a season where you won't have to explain yourself, defend yourself, or prove yourself. Your presence will speak, and the right people, the right doors, the right alignment will respond naturally. Comment, "I walk in alignment." and move forward today. Not hoping, not wishing, but knowing. God's plan is not forming, it is functioning, and you are exactly where you need to be. Stay with me a little longer, because this final expansion is where confidence replaces questioning. There was a time you asked God, "Why me?" Now you quietly understand, this is why me. That shift did not happen overnight. It happened through endurance. Here is the verse that seals this season. Those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. Waiting did not weaken you, it rewired you. You learned how to pause without panicking, how to trust without seeing, how to remain kind without becoming small. That's why you're standing differently now. If you feel stronger than you were a year ago, comment, "I am renewed." You don't rush conversations anymore. You don't overshare. You don't chase reassurance. Your calm speaks first, and people notice, even when they don't say it. That's why some are suddenly nervous around you. That's why others are suddenly respectful. That's why certain people feel exposed in your presence. Not because you changed your words, but because you changed your center. If you feel centered instead of reactive, comment, "I am centered." Now listen closely, because this is where authority quietly enters. You are no longer waiting for someone to choose you. You are watching who aligns with you. That reversal is powerful. You don't need attention. You need resonance, and resonance always finds its match. If you're done settling for almost, comment, "I choose alignment." This season is teaching you restraint. Not everything needs a response. Not everyone needs access. Silence is no longer avoidance. Wisdom, and wisdom attracts respect. If you've learned to be silent without guilt, comment, "Silence is strength." You may notice that people test your boundaries now, not aggressively, subtly. They want to see if the old version still exists. But the old version is gone. Not broken, not bitter. Gone because it evolved. If you refuse to return to old patterns, comment, "I don't go back." This is how you know God's plan is active. You feel less emotional chaos, less urgency, less fear of missing out. You trust timing now. And trust creates space. Space creates clarity. Clarity creates right decisions. If your decisions feel clearer lately, comment, "I see